I was 14 years old, standing in front of our empty house on a chilly autumn morning, holding a small piece of paper my parents had left behind. For 14 years, I believed my family was normal, even though my younger brother Derek was called a math prodigy by everyone who met him. That little note had only one sentence: "We have to go. Derek needs a better environment." No explanation. No goodbye for me. When I called my grandma Marceline through my tears, her response stopped me cold. "That is good, sweetheart. Now you can finally live." Before I continue this story, let me know where you are watching from by dropping a comment below. If you think this story deserves to be heard, please hit that like button and subscribe to my channel. Now let me take you back to that day and everything that led up to it. My family lived in a 2-story house in the suburbs of Columbus, Ohio. From the outside, we looked like any other American family. My father worked as a software engineer at a tech company downtown. My mother taught piano lessons from our living room, and the sound of scales and simple melodies filled our house most afternoons. Then there was my younger brother Derek, 3 years younger than me, who showed an extraordinary talent for mathematics from the time he was 5 years old. I remember the first time my parents realized Derek was different. He was sitting at the kitchen table, and my father was helping me with my 3rd grade homework. Derek, who was only in kindergarten, glanced at my worksheet and said the answers out loud one after another without even pausing to think. My father's eyes went wide. My mother dropped the dish she was drying. From that moment on, everything changed. As for me, I was just average. My grades hovered somewhere between B- and B+. I liked playing basketball with the neighborhood kids and spent hours in my room drawing superheroes and landscapes. Nothing special. Nothing that made anyone's eyes go wide. Our house had 2 floors. Downstairs was the living room kitchen and my mother's piano studio. Upstairs were 3 bedrooms. Derek's room was always equipped with the latest books, educational software, and an expensive computer my parents saved for months to buy. My room had a bed, a desk, and a closet full of clothes that were slightly too big because my mother always bought sizes I could grow into. The first time I truly felt invisible was on my 10th birthday. My parents had promised me a chocolate cake from the bakery downtown, the one with the little sugar flowers on top that I loved. But that morning, Derek received an invitation to compete in the state-level math competition, and my parents rushed to prepare him. They left before breakfast, promising to be back in time for my party. They did not come back until 8 in the evening. By then, the few friends I had invited had already gone home. There was no cake, no candles, no singing. But Grandma Marceline was there. She had driven 3 hours from Kentucky the night before just to be with me. When she saw me sitting alone on the porch, she did not say a word. She just went into the kitchen and started baking. By 9 o'clock, she placed a homemade chocolate cake in front of me with 10 candles flickering in the dim light. "Make a wish, my boy," she said softly. I closed my eyes and wished for my parents to see me the way they saw Derek. After I blew out the candles, Grandma Marceline sat beside me and said something I have never forgotten. "You are not invisible, my boy. You are just surrounded by blind people." I did not fully understand what she meant back then, but those words planted a seed in my heart that would grow over the years. The living room of our house became a shrine to Derek's achievements. Trophies lined the shelves, medals hung on the walls, certificates were framed and displayed like artwork. Every guest who visited was given a tour of Derek's accomplishments before they even sat down. I once painted a picture for my mother's birthday. It was a watercolor of our backyard with the old oak tree and the swing my father built when I was 7. I spent 2 weeks on it mixing colors until they were just right, trying to capture the way the sunlight filtered through the leaves. When I gave it to her, she smiled and said thank you. Then she put it in the hallway closet behind the winter coats. I found it there 3 years later, still wrapped in the tissue paper I had used. Every dinner conversation revolved around Derek, what competition was coming up next, which tutor would be best for his advanced studies, whether he should skip another grade. My parents talked about his future as if it were already written in gold letters. When they asked me about school, it was usually just, "How was your day?" And before I could answer, Derek would say something about a new theorem he learned, and their attention would snap back to him like a rubber band. Grandma Marceline lived alone in rural Kentucky, about 3 hours from Columbus. Her house was a small wooden cabin surrounded by fields and forests. She had been a nurse in the Army for 40 years, serving in places I could not even pronounce. After she retired, she moved back to the land where she grew up and built a quiet life for herself. Every summer while my parents took Derek to science camps at prestigious universities, they would drop me off at Grandma's place. I think they saw it as a convenient solution. I saw it as the best part of my year. Those summers with Grandma Marceline taught me more than any classroom ever did. She showed me how to plant tomatoes and peppers in her garden. She taught me how to fish in the lake behind her property, how to be patient and wait for the right moment. In the evenings, we would sit on her porch and she would tell me stories about her time in the Army, about the people she saved and the friends she lost. She always treated me like I mattered. She asked about my drawings, really looked at them, and pointed out details that even I had not noticed. She asked about my basketball games, remembered the names of my teammates, and wanted to hear about every play. "The world does not owe you anything," she told me once, as we watched the sunset paint the sky orange and pink. "But you do not owe the world your peace either. Remember that." I carried those words with me like a talisman. In the months before my parents disappeared, I noticed changes in our house. Derek, who was 11 at the time, received an invitation from an elite private school in Massachusetts. They offered him a full scholarship plus housing for his family. It was the kind of opportunity that my parents had been dreaming about since the day they discovered his talent. But there was a problem. The scholarship covered Derek and 2 guardians. Not a whole family, not a son who was just average. I started noticing my parents having quiet conversations behind closed doors. They would stop talking whenever I walked into a room. At night, I could hear their muffled voices through the wall between my bedroom and theirs, but I could never make out the words. Then one night, I woke up thirsty and went downstairs for a glass of water. As I passed my parents' bedroom, I heard my mother's voice clearly through the door that was slightly open. "We cannot afford to bring both of them," she said. My father replied, "He will be fine. He is not like Derek. He does not need us." I stood there in the dark hallway, my bare feet cold against the wooden floor, feeling like someone had punched me in the chest. I could not breathe. I could not move. I do not know how long I stood there before I finally stumbled back to my room. After that night, I stopped trying. I stopped asking my parents about their plans. I stopped showing them my drawings. I stopped telling them about basketball practice. I made myself as small and quiet as possible, hoping that if I was invisible enough, it would not hurt so much when they finally confirmed what I already knew. The morning everything changed was in mid-October. I remember the exact details because they are burned into my memory like a brand. I woke up to silence. Usually I could hear my mother making breakfast downstairs, the clink of dishes and the sizzle of eggs in the pan. My father would be at the kitchen table reading the news on his tablet and drinking his coffee. But that morning there was nothing, just the sound of wind rustling the autumn leaves outside my window. I got dressed and went downstairs. The kitchen was empty. The coffee maker was cold. No dishes in the sink. Then I saw it. A small piece of paper stuck to the refrigerator with a magnet shaped like an apple. I walked over slowly, my heart already pounding, even though I did not yet know why. The note was in my mother's handwriting. Neat, careful letters that I had seen on birthday cards and permission slips my whole life. "We have to go. Derek needs a better environment. Take care of yourself." I read it 3 times, then 3 more times, as if the words would change if I stared at them long enough. I ran upstairs to my parents' bedroom. The closet doors were open. Empty hangers swayed slightly in the draft from the window. The dresser drawers were pulled out, nothing inside. The nightstands were bare. I ran to Derek's room. His bookshelves, which had been stuffed with advanced math textbooks and competition prep guides, were empty. His computer was gone. His bed was stripped down to the mattress. Then I walked to my own room. Everything was exactly the same. My posters on the wall, my drawings on the desk, my basketball in the corner, my clothes in the closet. They had packed up their entire lives, and mine was not part of the luggage. I do not remember sitting down, but at some point I found myself on the floor of the hallway, my back against the wall, staring at nothing. The house felt enormous and hollow like a shell with nothing living inside it. I do not know how much time passed before I finally reached for my phone. My hands were shaking so badly that I could barely dial the number, but somehow I managed to call the one person I knew would answer. Grandma Marceline picked up on the second ring. "Hello, sweetheart," she said, her voice warm and familiar. I tried to speak, but all that came out was a sob, then another. Then I was crying so hard I could not breathe, could not form words, could not do anything but make sounds that did not even seem human. She waited. She did not rush me. She did not tell me to calm down. She just waited until the storm had passed enough for me to speak. "They are gone," I finally choked out. "They took Derek and left. They left me." There was silence on the other end. Not the cold silence of shock, but the warm silence of someone gathering their thoughts. Then Grandma Marceline said something I will never forget. "That is good, sweetheart. Now you can finally live." I stopped crying. I was so confused that my tears simply dried up. "What?" I whispered. "Pack your bag," she said, her voice calm and steady. "I am coming to get you. You are coming home." For the first time that day, I felt something other than pain. I felt like someone wanted me. 3 hours later, Grandma Marceline's old pickup truck pulled into the driveway. She did not honk or call me. She just walked up to the front door, opened it with the spare key she had always kept, and found me sitting on the stairs with a duffel bag at my feet. She looked at me for a long moment. Then she opened her arms. I do not remember walking into her embrace, but suddenly I was there, my face pressed against her shoulder, breathing in the familiar scent of lavender and wood smoke that always clung to her clothes. "Let us go home," she said. The drive to Kentucky felt like crossing into another world. The suburbs gave way to highways, then to smaller roads, then to winding paths through forests ablaze with autumn colors. By the time we reached Grandma's cabin, the sun was setting behind the hills, painting everything in shades of gold and amber. Her house looked exactly as I remembered, small wooden with a wraparound porch and a vegetable garden on the side. Biscuit, her old golden retriever, came bounding out to greet us, his tail wagging so hard his whole body shook. That first night I could not sleep. I lay in the guest bedroom that had always been mine during summer visits, staring at the ceiling, listening to the unfamiliar silence. No traffic sounds. No neighbors, just the wind in the trees and the occasional hoot of an owl. Around midnight, I heard the door creak open. Grandma Marceline came in without a word and sat down in the rocking chair by the window. She did not try to talk to me. She did not tell me everything would be okay. She just sat there, her presence steady and calm, until I finally fell asleep. For the first 2 weeks, she let me be. She cooked my meals, made sure I ate, and gave me space to grieve. Some days I would sit on the porch for hours, not moving, not thinking, just existing. Other days I would walk through the forest behind her property until my legs ached and my mind went quiet. She never pushed. She never asked me how I was feeling or told me to cheer up. She understood that some wounds need time before they can even begin to heal. Then one evening, about 2 weeks after I arrived, she called me to sit with her by the fireplace. The flames crackled and popped, casting dancing shadows on the walls. Biscuit lay at our feet, snoring softly. "I need to tell you some things," she said, her eyes on the fire. "Things about your mother. Things that might help you understand." I nodded, not trusting my voice. "Your mother was not always like this," Grandma Marceline began. "When she was young, she was a bright girl. Not a genius, but bright enough. The problem was, she grew up in a family that only valued extraordinary achievement. Her older brother was a star athlete. Her younger sister was a violin prodigy. And your mother was just good. Good at everything, but exceptional at nothing." She paused, her weathered hands folded in her lap. She spent her whole childhood trying to earn her parents' attention, their pride, but it never came. Not really. She was always second place, always overlooked. It broke something inside her. I thought about my mother, really thought about her for the first time. The way she lit up when Derek solved a difficult problem. The way she collected his trophies like precious gems. the way her eyes glazed over when I talked about my drawings. When Derek showed his talent, Grandma continued, your mother saw a chance to finally be special. Through him, she could be the mother of a genius. She could matter. It was never about Derek, not really. It was about filling the hole inside herself. That does not make it okay, I said, my voice rough. No, it does not, Grandma agreed. Your mother is broken in ways she does not even understand, but that does not excuse what she did to you. She turned to look at me, her eyes sharp despite her age. I want you to know something else. Over the years, I asked your parents many times if I could take you in. I saw what was happening. I saw you disappearing in that house. But they always said no. They said it would look bad. They worried what people would think if they gave up one son to a grandmother. My chest tightened. All those years there had been someone fighting for me, and I never knew. They cared more about appearances than about you, Grandma said bluntly. That is the truth, and you deserved better. 3 months after I moved in with Grandma Marceline, the phone rang during dinner. Grandma answered, and I watched her face change. It went from curious to stone cold in the span of a heartbeat. Hello, Patricia, she said. My mother's name. I could not hear what my mother was saying, but I could see its effect on Grandma. Her jaw tightened. Her free hand gripped the edge of the table. Yes, he is here, Grandma said. Yes, he is fine. Better than fine. More muffled words from the phone. I see. Derek is doing well at his new school. How wonderful for him. Then my mother said something that made Grandma's eyes flash with an anger I had rarely seen. Is he giving you any trouble? Grandma repeated, her voice dripping with disbelief. You abandon your son without a word, and you want to know if he is giving me trouble. The words hung in the air like smoke. Let me make something very clear, Grandma said, her voice low and steady. He is the best thing that ever happened to me. You do not get to ask about him anymore. You made your choice. Now live with it. She hung up the phone with a decisive click. For a moment, neither of us spoke. Then Grandma turned to me, her expression softening. You do not owe them your forgiveness, she said. You do not owe them anything. After that phone call, something shifted inside me. The anger was still there, but it was no longer a wild fire consuming everything. It had become something else. Fuel. Grandma enrolled me in the local high school, and for the first time I walked into a school where no one knew me as Derek's brother. I was just myself. It was terrifying and liberating all at once. I joined the art club mostly to have something to do after school. But something unexpected happened. My drawings caught the attention of the art teacher, a woman named Mrs. Harper with paint-stained fingers, and a laugh that filled the whole room. She asked to see more of my work. I showed her the sketchbook I had been filling since I was 12, page after page of superheroes and landscapes and portraits of people I had never met. You have real talent, she said, flipping through the pages with genuine interest. Have you ever thought about pursuing this seriously? No one had ever asked me that before. No one had ever looked at my art and seen a future. Mrs. Harper became my mentor. She taught me about composition and color theory, about the history of art and the different movements that had shaped it. She encouraged me to apply for art scholarships, something I had never even considered. For the first time in my life, I started to believe that I might be good at something, that I might be more than just average. 4 years passed faster than I thought possible. I threw myself into my art with a passion I did not know I had. I filled sketchbook after sketchbook. I experimented with different mediums, from watercolors to acrylics to digital illustration. Mrs. Harper guided me, challenged me, and believed in me even when I doubted myself. In my senior year, I applied to the Rhode Island School of Design, one of the top art schools in the country. The application required a portfolio of my best work, a personal essay, and letters of recommendation. I worked on it for months, refining every piece, rewriting every sentence. The day the acceptance letter arrived, I was sitting on Grandma's porch, watching biscuit chase squirrels in the yard. The mailman handed me a thick envelope with the school's logo on it. My hands trembled as I opened it. Dear applicant, the letter began. "We are pleased to inform you that you have been accepted." I did not read the rest. I just ran inside, waving the letter, shouting for Grandma. She was in the kitchen kneading dough for bread. When she saw my face, she stopped. When I showed her the letter, she read it slowly, her lips moving with each word. Then she did something I had never seen before. She cried. "You did this," she said, pulling me into a hug. "Not them, you." That summer, I organized a small art exhibition in town. Grandma helped me hang my paintings in the community center, and she invited everyone she knew to come see them. Farmers, shopkeepers, neighbors, even the mailman who had delivered my acceptance letter. The centerpiece of the exhibition was a large oil painting I had worked on for 6 months. It showed Grandma Marceline sitting by her fireplace, biscuit at her feet, the flames casting warm light on her weathered face. I called it home. People came up to me all evening complimenting my work, asking about my techniques, wanting to know where I had learned to paint like that. But the moment that meant the most was when I saw Grandma standing in front of her portrait, just looking at it with tears in her eyes. 1 year into college, I received an unexpected message. It was from my father. He said he wanted to talk. He said things had changed. He said Derek was struggling. Apparently, the pressure of being a prodigy had finally caught up with my brother. He had suffered a breakdown in his 2nd year of high school, unable to cope with the expectations that had been piled on him since childhood. He was taking a year off from school to recover. My parents wanted to reconnect. They wanted to be a family again. I agreed to meet them once at a coffee shop in a town between Kentucky and wherever they were living now. I did not do it for them. I did it for myself to see if I still had any anger left or if I had finally let it go. They looked different when I saw them. Older, grayer, smaller somehow. My father had deep lines around his eyes that I did not remember. My mother's hands shook slightly when she lifted her coffee cup. And Derek. My little brother was 17 now, tall and thin, with dark circles under his eyes, and a nervousness in his movements that hurt to watch. The confident prodigy was gone, replaced by someone who looked lost. My mother cried. She apologized over and over, saying she did not know what she had been thinking, that she had made terrible mistakes, that she just wanted her family back. I listened. I let her speak. And when she was finished, I said what I had come to say. "I do not hate you," I told them. "I spent a long time being angry, but I do not have room for that anymore. Grandma Marceline taught me that my worth is not measured by your attention. I do not need you to complete me. I am whole on my own." My mother reached for my hand, but I pulled back gently. "I am not saying we cannot have a relationship," I continued. "But it will not be what it was. I will not come back and pretend everything is fine. I will not be the forgotten son anymore, because I am not forgotten. Not by the people who matter." Then I turned to Derek, who had been silent the whole time. "It is not your fault," I said. "You were just a kid too caught up in something you did not ask for. But you need to figure out who you are outside of their expectations. You need to find your own path like I found mine." Derek's eyes filled with tears. It was the first real conversation we had ever had, the first time we spoke as brothers, instead of as the genius and the ordinary one. Now I am 26 years old. I live in a small apartment in a town about 30 minutes from Grandma Marceline's cabin. I work as a freelance illustrator creating book covers, magazine illustrations, and occasionally pieces for galleries. It is not a glamorous life, but it is mine. Every Sunday I drive to Grandma's house for dinner. She is 82 now, still healthy, still tending her garden every morning, still sharp as a tack. Biscuit passed away 2 years ago, and she has a new dog now, a rescue mutt named Clover, who is just as loyal. These Sunday dinners are sacred to me. We cook together, talk about our weeks, and sit by the fire like we did when I first came to live with her. Sometimes I bring my latest paintings to show her, and she examines each one with the same careful attention she gave my childhood drawings. My relationship with my parents is distant but civil. We exchange messages on holidays and birthdays. I visited Derek once at his college last year. He is studying psychology now, trying to understand the pressures that almost broke him. He is doing better. We are not close, but we are something. Brothers maybe in a way we never were before. As for the lesson I learned from all of this, it is simple, but hard won. Sometimes the people who are supposed to love you the most fail you the hardest. Parents are not perfect. Families are not guaranteed. The people who share your blood are not always the people who see your worth. But that does not mean you are unlovable. It does not mean you are invisible. It just means you have to find your own tribe, your own home, your own definition of family. For me, that family was Grandma Marceline. It was Mrs. Harper. It was the friends I made in art school and the community that welcomed me in that small Kentucky town. Home is not where you come from. Home is where you are seen. And if you are out there right now feeling invisible in your own house, feeling like you will never be enough no matter how hard you try, I want you to know this: you are not the problem. The people who cannot see you are the problem. Somewhere out there is a Marceline waiting for you too. Someone who will look at you and see not what you lack, but what you are. Someone who will say, "That is good," when the chains finally break, because they know that freedom is the first step toward becoming who you were always meant to be. I would love to hear from you. Have you ever felt invisible in your own family? Have you found your own? Marceline's someone who saw you when no one else did. Drop a comment below and share your story. And if this video touched you in any way, please hit the like button, subscribe to this channel, and share this story with someone who might need to hear it. Your support means the world to me and helps me continue sharing stories like this one. Thank you for watching, and thank you for listening. I hope you find the home you deserve, the one where you are finally seen. Take care of yourself, and remember, you are not invisible. You never were.